Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of the Carling Currie Cup, and it is the final of the competition. The Lions taking on none other than the Griquas, and this game, it's got a lot of potential. Now, we've seen these two sides play recently, and it was pretty one-sided. The Lions have absolutely stacked their side from start to finish with URC player after URC player, but the Griquas are the type of side that will see that as that challenge and just try and go above it. But it's going to be tough. It's one of the most one-sided on odds that we have seen for a Currie Cup final in a very long time. So I just hope the scoreboard doesn't say that as well. But looking through at this URC side of the Lions, they have got SJ Kortsia in the front row alongside Franco Marias, and then the big man, Klabakanye, back in the number 3 jersey. He was cleared to be able to play in this match, and he will certainly bolster that scrum that we see of this Lions team. In the locking duo, once again, Del Port gets himself that start as the number 5. He's been a consistent option for the Lions all throughout this URC season. Moving on to the loose forward trio. You see there Jared Kens, Ruan Finta, Stennekamp in the number 8 jersey. This is where the Lions can really make their impact out there on the field. They, of course, have a lot of grunt up front, but they also have those skillful loose forwards, can change a game. Someone like a Ruan Finta has pace for days. When he does get it right, Stain and Smith will be the 19 combination. Richard Creel alongside Hinka van Wyk in the middle of the park. And then Angelo Davids, Kelly Mpeku out on the other wing. And then it is Kuan Horn as that number 15. So like I said, this is a URC starting lineup. And it would probably challenge a lot of the sides in the URC with quite some success. But in this scenario, they are taking on the Griquas, a side that would love nothing more than, like I said, to cause that massive upset. They have gone consistent with their lineup all throughout this year. Eddie Davids in the front row alongside Janko Ice and Glamini as the 3, Leibenberg and Pretorius making up the locking duo with Oosterhuizen, Els and Ulank as their number 8. Caleb Abrahams alongside George Whitehead. His kicking tee is absolutely crucial today, because if he's making mistakes and they aren't getting those 3-pointers or the 7s when they are available, that could make a huge difference to the scoreline of this game's. Will Ndaba as the number 12, with Zane Bester slotting in at number 13. Gershon Ware, Dylan Mart and Cameron Hufka will be the back 3 for this Lions side. In the chat we have got there, good evening mate from Brisbane. How are you mate? And what's with the shaved head? Lyle says Foot Patrol Australia. So pretty much, because the All Blacks lost on New Zealand soil, and because I decided to be nice, I said if we hit a certain light goal, we would go with the buzz cut. Now, originally it was going to be that South Africa needed to win both games in New Zealand, but I did decide to change the rules a little bit. Like I said, maybe shouldn't have, and now that's what we're working with. We have got there, I'm now booking Canada to win the Rugby World Cup. So there's another mum there, and come on the Lions from, I'm quarter for the teams I support today. Or sorry, you're 1 from 4. Let's get that up to 2 from 5. And Lions to win by 20 points, says Mornay. Good afternoon, how are you, Hamish? Can I ask a question? Go on, Mohadeen. Fire it at me. We have got there the Griquas. Come on. And Klaas Kimberley waiting for the trophy for the Currie Cup. Come on, says Geordie King. And like I mentioned, they come in as big underdogs here, the Griquas. But they will want nothing more than to cause that upset. Looking at what they have done recently, they were able to win their semi-final quite comfortably in the game up against the Cheetahs. Now, I do think that game, it's a hard one to describe, right? But it was Currie Cup versus Currie Cup. Whereas that game the week prior was URC versus Currie Cup. The Lions are stacked at this stage of the competition. We did see a few of the Stormers and the Sharks players coming back for their games, and the Bulls as well. But because of where they were in the rankings, it meant that it didn't really affect the top 4. The only thing it slightly affected was Boland getting a home semi-final, seeing as they came up against a very stacked side in the last round. But other than that, the Griquas, they've been consistent throughout this Currie Cup season. They haven't made a huge amount of mistakes. We see there for the Lions, their most recent game was that semi-final up against Boland, where they were able to win at 67 points to 19. So that one was a little bit one-sided. And as you can see there, those odds, you don't see a final like that too often. That's the type of final odds that you see in like a semi or a quarter final. For instance, England versus France in the Women's World Cup. England are the favourite by about that margin, if not a little bit more. So it's going to be tough. But we'll have to wait and see how it goes. Definitely with the fact that it's also a home game for the Lions. This one could be one-sided, but hopefully it's not. Did you watch Tasman versus Waikato? I did not. I don't even know the score of that one either. If you get to 100k subs, will you get Kiwi and Lads as knuckle tats? No. We're almost done with the forfeits, I think, for now. Haven't got too much left to offer. We have got Hi Hamish, Craig from St Francis Bay, Eastern Cape, South Africa is back again. I love your commentary series, Craig, and it is greatly appreciated you being here. We've got plenty of matches all throughout today. We are going to be covering, of course, this Carling Currie Cup final between the Lions and the Griquas. Then from there, we've got the Women's World Cup semi-final between England and France. And then after that, we've got 3 matches that we are going to be covering on the channel as well of the Pacific Nations Cup as well as the Rugby World Cup qualifiers between Samoa and Chile. So plenty more action coming just around the corner. I like the buzz cut, Hamish. Springboks win Rugby Championship, then Mustache go offence to you. Wait, so then Mustache go offence to you. So you want it to be offensive that you're saying that the mustache has to go as well. And we have got there, I tell you that game was not good for my heart, but happy with the result. Okay, so it must have been close, but in the end, Waikato must have pulled it off. Springboks and All Blacks, who wins the championship? I think the Springboks are in the box seat at the moment. They were my pick right from the get-go. And I did feel like if they could pull off one win in New Zealand, that they'd have the best finish to the competition out of any sides. I could see them going 2-0 up against the Argentines. Now, that is nothing against Argentina. It is just based off momentum and what we would normally see from the box. And yeah, I think that they're in a really good position to be able to go on and win the whole competition. Looking through at the benches for these two sides. For the Lions, it is Morne Brandon in the front row alongside Schoolman. And guess what? Schoolman is the other man in the front row. Langsberg alongside Renzo Duplessis. He could be a danger man later on in this matchup. Hassim Peed off the bench for the Lions. I know that a few people were sad that man wasn't starting in this match, but I do think it makes sense. Nico Stain's been solid all throughout the season, and also building into that URC, I'm sure they'll want as many minutes as possible for some of these Lions players. Dobella and Yonka, the last 2 men to make their way off the bench. For the Lions, for the Griquas, they have got Langya, Leons and Prinsloo in their number 18 jersey, David, alongside Makumwanda as that number 1, as that number 20, Bursey, Nell and Mahoney as that number 23. So those are the starting lineups. It looks like a perfect afternoon for a bit of rugby out there on the field. We are at Ellis Park for this game, so a bit of altitude to deal with for these two sides. A great warm-up for the Lions heading into their URC, whereas for the Griquas, this is the last time that a lot of these guys get to play rugby for a little bit of time. We have got there, I was gutted. A great game. NPC this weekend has been excellent. Says Studs Race. There's been some pretty close games overall. We have got the ESO to the Griquas. Don't think anyone saw them getting this far. Says just me. Yeah, I think that they've had an incredible season. And like I said, the the Currie Cup this year has been met with a lot of criticism because of when certain sides are able to bring in their big dogs. But the fact that the Griquas have consistently not been able to go to that option and have still finished pretty much top of the table, I do think is extremely impressive for what they've been able to do. And I do hope that they really make it competitive here. We have got there, so tell me, Hamish, what happened to the Black Ferns? I know Canada was the favourite. I don't think it was going to be a margin. Says Morne, Canada proved why they are number 2 in the world. And I feel like a lot of people were, I don't know whether or not it was out of just not wanting to accept the fact that Canada are quite good now, or maybe just thinking that the Black Ferns were a bit stronger than they were throughout this Women's World Cup competition. They did struggle in the first half up against the South Africans. Canada haven't really had too many close games whatsoever. So, I'll be honest, I thought maybe 7 points separating them, but I did almost have Canada as the closing favourite heading into that match based off the form that we've seen. But New Zealand they made too many errors. They were dropping the ball, they were giving away penalties, and it's very hard to win playoff rugby when you allow the opposition to score so many points in the first half. Even if you're ready for a comeback, and maybe certain sides do favour a bit more of a comeback type of contest, but too slow of a start, and it was always going to be hard to catch them. We have got there, what if New Zealand also wins 2 games? If everyone wins 2 games, then who wins? It'll come down to points differential and also that table overall, but I do see at the moment anyway, I feel like South Africa have more chance of winning with bonus points up against the Argentines than New Zealand do have to be able to beat the Australians with bonus points. Is Ramphilly Shield the best? Says Dune. It is some clubs would say yes, it is kind of depends on how you look at it. The main thing is the Bunnings NPC, but then the Ranfurly Shield is something that no matter who is playing for it, and no matter what round of the competition it is, that is something that means a lot to New Zealand provincial rugby supporters. So like next week we get to see Otago go head-to-head with North Harbour. And North Harbour sits 0 from 7 so far throughout this season. But guess what? If they win that Ranfurly Shield, they will be more than happy with the season that they've had because they get to take it home. That man kind of looked like Jameson Gibson Park in the stands, but it was not. He was wearing a Springbok kit as we currently listen to the South African national anthem. Before getting into this contest, the Lions fans have turned up for this game, which is fantastic to see, and they come in confident for this matchup. I think for the Griquas, they just have to start well. They can't afford to be down by 2 tries at all, I don't think, throughout this game, or else they're done. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's just too much of a comeback to make up against a stacked URC team if you do end up dropping a couple tries early to this type of side. Definitely at altitude, it starts to burn the lungs. England is going to have their hands full in the final if they get past France. Absolutely. I think that no matter who is facing Canada, we're going to have their hands full. And the Canadians just look hungry at the moment. They look like they want to win the competition. And I think a lot more people are now believing them. See a lot of Lions tattoos, the temporary ones on the cheeks, of course. When is the URC starting again? It's actually starting next week. Some massive games of the URC in round number 1. There are some slightly unfortunate overlaps in terms of when international rugby has taken place and when the URC has taken place as well. But the Stormers versus Leinster, that is the Saturday morning game at 5 a.m. Then Glasgow play the Sharks at 7:05. And then from there, the Bulls have the Ospreys. That game will actually overlap with the third place playoff game of the Women's World Cup. Lions play Cardiff a bit later on in the evening, so I'm hoping to cover at least 2 of those games. We have that French girl looked hungry, yeah, and sadly she doesn't get to eat for this matchup because she's suspended. We have got Hayes CSV. Welcome in, hope you're doing very well. And for interest's sake, do Kiwis think Steve Hansen could or should come back to fix the All Blacks? The thing is, right, I feel like no matter who New Zealand get at the moment, as soon as they lose a game, everyone sacks the coach. And don't get me wrong, Razor's been a little bit conservative with some of his selections. But at the same time, you know, it was mentioned about it earlier on. He doesn't quite have those same players that the Ian Foster era had, or even further back, Steve Hansen did have as well. But it's just that lack of experimentation that's turned a lot of people against him. But I think people forget how difficult it is to be a coach when you're watching your side drop the ball 15 times and giving away a whole heap of penalties, and there's not a thing you can do about it other than go back onto the training park after they've butchered a game and then try and fix it. It's very tricky. Being a coach, you're looking good, bro, says Rashan. Thank you very much. We have got the buzz cut, of course, but the Lions, they are going to be kicking off this game from left to right. They will be ready to get underway. The Griquas, like I said, they need to start well. If they fall behind and they concede an early try, they might be done in this game. But Chris Smith to kick us underway for this Currie Cup final of 2025, and it's nicely taken by Dylan Mart, who was met with a flying Angelo Davids, who puts in the big hit from the get-go. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to have to manually do the scoreboard today, so you might have to bear with us a little bit. I should also mention, I was supposed to say this in the intro, we've actually got a severe weather warning where I am at the moment, so if for any reason the live stream stops, it's probably because the power's gone out. So just bear with us if that happens. Now going off to the left-hand side here for Kuan Horn. Tackled by Ulank. So many one-on-one tackles need to be made. Klaba Kanye bumping off 2 men. That man will be happy to get a little bit of rugby under his belt. Chris Smith going back across to the right-hand side. Beautiful looping around play there from the back line. Binding Hinko Fun Fake. Now Nico Stain back in behind for Kortsia. Now moving it, shoveling it on. Out Kuan Horn finds Stennekamp, who almost breaks through. Sitting about 30 metres out from the line now. Nico Stain, Klabakanye popping it up now. Another step from Marais. And I actually, everyone, love the haircut, says Lilia B. Thank you very much. It is greatly appreciated. You're popping in for this one. We have got the nice shave. H, definitely not your style, champ, says Juan. I like how you mixed it as like a bad or a good thing and a bad thing. You're like, nice shave. It looks terrible. But now, ball there, 38 metres out from the line. Nico Stain, short ball Smith. Trying to get that steal on the breakdown there for the Griquas. Now Klabakanye, looks like one of the Griquas players already down, kicked him behind here, and a little bit of pace being shown. Ball sits up for Cameron Hufka, and the Griquas score the first try of the Carling Currie Cup final. Now that, I can tell you right now, was not supposed to happen. Okay, the referee's there talking to the TMO saying that the Lions are complaining about something. So I think it's whether or not there was a knock-on from Zwalendaba when he was making that tackle. We have got there, I really appreciate your work. Says Rajan, thank you very much, greatly appreciated. We have got there, hey Hamish, thank you for the awesome, or for the rugby content, always my go-to for commentary, says Chris. And we got plenty more coming throughout the day. Love the buzzcut, Hamish, a man of his word. Says Sue Walsh. Cameron Hofka showing off the pace early, and I think this try is going to stand. Which does mean George Whitehead, nice easy kick straight in front of the post. He will use up as many seconds as he can and just try and slow the tempo down of this game a little bit, but a great start to the match for the Griquas. In fact, they couldn't have asked for a better start than scoring within 2 minutes after not actually touching the ball up until that point, but the offload from Chris Smith just went wrong, and then that pace being shown off by Gershon Ware. And a great bounce of the ball. Sometimes you just need that little bit of luck, and the Griquas got it there. Hufka happy with that one he's doing. Now, is it a bit early for a celebration? He's doing the whole chilly, like a cold movement there. And now it's going to be kicked off by the Lions. 7-0 up though for the Griquas. The collision with Klabakanye. Off to the right-hand side. Glamini. Couple extra metres made, but it's such a dangerous back three here for the Lions of Mpeku. Angelo David's got himself 3 tries in the last contest, and then Kuan Horn at the back. Going to be kicked high, chasing after this one for the Griquas, not able to take it cleanly, and bounces on to the side of the Lions, who take the ball 40 metres out from the line now. Now off to the right. Nico Stain, all changing direction there. Chris Smith, he's being put under immense pressure early on. Kuan Horn going for the kick in behind. It just bounces in the field of play. It was all but out on the full, and it is a good kick in the end. Means that they will be able to have the line out here, the Griquas, from inside of their 22. That is where the danger can come for the Lions. They have got 2 very handy options. Delport in particular has been stealing a lot throughout these URC lineouts. It's a pity that Canadian men aren't as good as the Canadian women. What is the reason? Pretty much because of the other sports that the Canadian men normally end up going to first. I know that rugby is slowly making its way up there in terms of the rankings for women's sport in Canada, whereas, still in the men's side of things, a lot of the big brutes will go to ice hockey or they'll play Canadian football. So you're really looking at about that 2nd, 3rd, 4th string of players. But as it grows more, and I mean, the fact that they've booked themselves a spot in that Rugby World Cup 2027, that may also help the odds in terms of people starting to take up rugby. URC back next week, says Patrick. It certainly is an absolutely massive opener of a contest between the Stormers and Leinster. Now a little pop pass up. Lions round the halfway line. Zwalendaba making the tackle. Now Nico Stain goes back across. That looked close to forward. Around the halfway line, over the ball, and he wanted to steal there, Yanko Ice. Wasn't given it. Angelo Davids has to play halfback. Chris Smith tries to kick him behind. And tell you what, second mistake in a row for Chris Smith. He gets extremely lucky and cleans that ball up. But that was almost a second breakaway try because of a Chris Smith mistake. Kuan Horn, 45 metres out from the line. Off to the left, Klabakanye. Tackle well by Oosterhuizen. Now Smith goes back across. He might start to go into his shell a little bit here, and it's a drop ball from Richard Creel. Which gives another opportunity for the Griquas with a scrum feed. Did you look up URC TV online? Not yet, but I'll end up sorting it by next week, of course. But yeah, another chance there from Chris Smith, just getting a little bit too risky, I would say, in the early stages of this game. TG4 in Ireland leads to game preview next week. And also we have got there, it's a pity that the Canadian men aren't as good as the Canadian women. What is the reason? Same reason that I just said. We have got there, yes, that's right. If USA took rugby serious, no reason why they couldn't be at the top. In my opinion, NFL players are higher level athleticism, faster, bigger, strong. And we've seen that at times in the 7 setup as well. for the USA in terms of what they've been able to do when they do get it right. Now, of course, they aren't quite where they were in the prime of Perry Baker and Carlin Isles and those type of players. But I do still think they've got enough potential. It's just finding that right balance, and I think also just finding the right coach to steer them in the right direction. They're just saying there that the Lions throughout this whole URC season have averaged around 40 points per game, which is absolutely massive. Looks like there's actually going to be a head knock assessment here for one of the Griquas players. It's going to be, I want to say it's actually Ruan Fenta, which does bring on a change. Oh no, in fact it was it was Carl Els, my apologies, the Vit, the man who will make his way on. It's currently sitting about 6 minutes into this Carling Currie Cup final. I've just realised I'm the scoreboard, so I better update to 6. There we go. We'll go 7 just to be safe, 30 seconds away from it. Ball going to be fed in by Caleb Abrahams. A big push from the Lions. They, of course, have Klabakanya, which adds a little bit more push to that scrum. George Whitehead put in the kicker behind it. Does find touch about 30 metres out from the Lions line. So a bit of a safer one there from Whitehead. Maybe not quite having the distance on it that he would have been after here in Canada. The Canadian men play ice hockey. Ice hockey to Canada is like rugby to South Africa, says Leon. Yeah, there's like the ones who play rugby are almost, you'd say, niched out to the side, you know. Like rugby is nowhere near as popular in Canada as a lot of those other big sports are. But like I said, a World Cup, maybe that is what they need to be able to really fire up people. And maybe it is when we see in 2031 that USA are going to be hosting and it will be on a nice time zone. And I'm sure, well, I'd like to think anyway, that there'll be a lot of broadcasters for it. Angelo Davids going up for their ball around the halfway line, but it's beautifully taken by Dylan Mart. A great game up against the Cheetahs last week. George Whitehead once again looking for a low, kicking behind. They're just trying to force them back at the moment. It seems like the plan for the Griquas is just slowly work their way towards the try line. How crazy was Canada versus New Zealand? Says Inferno. It was a very interesting game. Canada getting off to a flying start like they have in every match of the Women's World Cup. And then New Zealand trying to create a comeback in a game that they just were behind from the very get-go. Why are Canadian women so good and the Canadian men so bad? Do they do more the women than the men? I've mentioned it a couple of times more, and the chat has mentioned it as well, about the fact that the Canadian men have a lot more sports that they do go to before rugby. Oh, drop ball from Klabakanya after a big rib tickler on him. Willem Dubber put in the kick in behind. Now go back for another scrum in favour of the Griquas, but some early nerves here at the moment from this side. Klabakanya apologising to his teammates. I think he just wanted another scrum deep down. Yeah, big shot from Oosterhuizen was coming in alongside Erlang. And he's apologising. He must have seen the replay on the big screen. They get hit hard by Oosterhuizen, who's just a ball of an individual. He'll go out there and he'll smash absolutely anyone, whether you're 150 kgs or you're not. And not that crazy. I could see New Zealand had weakness, especially in the forwards through the whole camp. People thought I was dumb saying South Africa forwards run it harder. Next minute getting bullied. Says bad dogs. Yeah, I do think that New Zealand, looking back at their World Cup, right? If you look at it outside of the fact that they are the defending champions of the Rugby World Cup, New Zealand's World Cup has not been their best. And it probably showed in that semi-final just because they hadn't been fully tested. Like, I don't know, it didn't seem like they ever hit that next gear overall. And that is why I honestly think that Canada, who were more consistent, were able to get themselves some success. Can we update time, please? There we go. We have put it up to 10 minutes. But yeah, for some reason, Carling Currie Cup, they decide that they aren't actually doing scoreboard updates, so I have to do them manually. But now 5 metres out for the line for the Griquas. Oosterhuizen just out. Another pick and go here. Lions could be in a little bit of trouble here if they give away an offside advantage, but it hasn't happened yet. It's Willem Dubber. Why can our pass go into the wing? Gershon Ware. Oh, did he get it down? It looks like he did. And the Griquas may have just scored again. I'm a Joe Berger and an Inherit Lions supporter. If we lose this game, maybe we should not compete at the URC. Says just me. I think they'll still be in the URC, though. They're pretty decent in the URC season. Makes sense. I didn't even know the final was today. Says Inferno. AH, will you agree that number 3 for the Lions is best to have for KFC? Says Juan Pierre Bosch. Probably not, because he's actually lost a lot of weight. He's also had quite a few intriguing, he's had a busy couple months dealing with disciplinary hearings and all sorts, or at least they're coming up in the near future. We have got their foot in touch, says Patrick there. A few adjustments, though. Get some hardy forwards on in their balls back in our court, because New Zealand backs are best. Just need the engine room pumping and just putting the foot down, Gershon Ware. That's a little bit of a lifeline there for the Lions. They almost conceded 2 tries in the first 10 minutes of this final. And ice hockey is huge for men because top players can make the NHL and they can make millions, says Leon. Has anyone tried the new chicken tenders at KFC South Africa yet? What's new about them? Because I know that KFC normally have those stock standard chicken tenders. Are they like spicy or something? Or is it just they're bigger? No, I see taken. Now, all penalty. And that is going to be for offside against the Griquas, who were just closing that gap a little bit too much at line-out time. His dropping was due to the GMO in KFC chicken, says Juan Pierre Bosch. I think it was due to his training camp that the man was doing. He was on fire in the off-season, trying to lose. I think he'd lost about 15 kgs in a couple months with how hard he was working out on the farm. We have got there, who do you think is going to win between Fiji and Japan, and by how many? Says Mornay Lagrange. I think that depends on how both teams play, because honestly it could be 50-50. Japan have looked great throughout this Pacific Nations Cup. They've scored over 200 points throughout their 4 games, but Fiji are the type of side that, if it's based off last year, could go in with quite a bit of success up against this Japanese side. That's going to be nicely taken by the Lions. Nico Stain, Chris Smith again. We'll send this one up on an under. Looks like they're playing the altitude game at the moment, trying to slap it back. Angelo Davids getting it onto the side of the Lions, and another knock on. We have got the Fiji, says Patrick. No KFC on the farm. I can tell you look. So, like, you look and there's no chickens on the farm, I assume is what you're trying to say. We have got there, Fiji have access to all the players, says Studs Race. Do they? Oh, no, sorry, that's with a question mark. They don't, no. Joe Tamani was playing for Otago in the Ranfurly Shield not too long ago. Now, scrum feed again for the Griquas. This is about the 4th scrum that we're seeing for the side throughout the early stages of the match. They are still 7-0 up at the moment on the clock, so they are doing very nicely after the 11 minutes. This game is far from over, and you wonder whether or not this altitude will hit them a little bit throughout that second half period. Now, Caleb Abraham's going off to the left-hand side. Space on the outside. Zane Bester kicking in behind us. Cameron Hufka looking for the turn, and he gets the 50-22. And you just see the frustration there from Kjuan Horn, knowing that this game is not going the way that it was supposed to. Just looking at that one, almost a banana kick. It's sad to see so many empty seats. Says Inferno, it is, but at the same time, I think it's understandable because of how this Currie Cup has gone. The fact that certain sides can just bring in top players, I think, put a lot of neutrals off. But overall, like the Lions crowd, it's probably bigger than they were expected. Yeah, that was the question. I should have known because I watched the game with Tamani. Said Studs raised there, but yeah, they are missing the likes of a Naya Thalevu, a Tui Sova, Vinaya Habosi, all those overseas guys. Now rolling more here for the Griquas as they look to break off the back for Yanko Ice, I should say. My apologies. Whitehead now switching out to Gershon, where he all but scored a try before if it wasn't for a foot in touch. Now Abrahams again going off to Ustays. A bit slow getting back up to the feet there for, I believe it is Gershon Ware down on the near side. There is the advantage now in play for the Griquas. I'm so old. I remember when Matanyes Ru played for the Griquas in 1970. That's going to be an offside penalty this time against the Lions. Right. There's a double blow of the whistle too. I think that the Lions are going to be close to their last warning here. What do you think of the ref-sponsored kit? Says Inferno. It's always been that way, hasn't it? That the refs have the sponsors. I know that the New Zealand referees normally have Specsavers on their kit. But if it means someone's getting more money, I guess it is fine. Looks like Damini's got a little bit of a concern here with his knee. Doesn't look 100% comfortable at the moment. In fact, that time it is Eddie Davids on the other side. Currie Cup debut versus the Cheetahs back in 2022. And he's had his hands full in these scrums already up against Klubakanye. Most of the time has been going backwards. At the same time, hasn't conceded a scrum penalty as of yet. Now, it does look like the Griquas are not considering 3 points here. And you wonder whether or not that's the right choice. I know that they are up against a strong side in the Lions, but perhaps they're just deciding that they're doing a lot better in this game than anticipated, so they might as well just keep on pushing the tempo, pushing the pace, and see if they can cause a bit of an upset here. Seeing a lot of strapping, though, on the leg of Eddie Davids there. Quite a few in the stands as well. Of course, the Lions, they are going to be in action for the URC next week. I believe they are going to be going head-to-head with Cardiff. That will actually be taking place after the Springboks play Argentina. Plenty of rugby all throughout the next weekend. We will also have the Women's World Cup final that is taking place next week. Bunnings NPC continues. Pacific Nations Cup comes to a close, but Samoa versus Chile will still be happening. Who are these teams? Is that the Lions that used to be in Super Rugby? It is, yes. So now they are in the URC, alongside a lot of Northern Hemisphere sides, as well as a few other South African sides. The Griquas are the equivalent of an NPC team here in New Zealand. South Africa wouldn't want a URC team to win this game, just saying. So here's Albert, and the Lions 72 to the Griquas 7. So you're only given the Griquas 7 at this point in time. Now, I will mention the Lions went for the corner, the Griquas went for the corner, and it backfired here. Although they will still have themselves the line out from about 15 metres out from the line. Chris Smith has been far from his best today. And it seems to have heavily impacted the way that the Lions are attacking throughout this final at this point. Now, another line out chance here for the Griquas. It will be Yanko Ice with the throw. Have to get it right. Still no Carl Elsie has not returned from his head knock. So DeVitt is still out there on the field. 15 and a half minutes gone, and the rolling maul again here for the Griquas. We will update the scoreboard again in terms of the time. Interesting that ADT is a sponsor of both teams. ADT is a quick response home security company. So here's Inferno. I mean, it's probably good advertising then if both sides are wearing it on them. And Griquas targeting Smith. I don't even know if they're targeting them. To be honest, they've put a little bit of pressure on him, but I think he's just been making a few bad decisions at this point, and I don't know whether or not that's the pressure of this final or whether it is just the case of not quite getting it right as of yet. But yeah, everyone else for the Lions, with the exception of a couple handling errors, have looked pretty solid. But Smith seems to be that guy at the moment that could go either way. Now, chance here, 5 metres out from the line for the Griquas. Getting just a little bit closer there was Yanko Ice, trying to get the steal and the breakdown, told to get out of it for Jared Kens. Now Abrahams goes back across to Glamini, who does sit down the man running at him, and Moraes, but they will get the penalty now, the Lions. They are surviving, even though they're only just out from their goal line. They've had multiple times where they've either got the steal or relieved that pressure. What I cannot understand is how Canada might put out the ladies of the mighty Rugby Nation New Zealand, like Albert says. What I cannot understand is could put out. They've already put them out, Casper. That game happened this morning. Or yesterday for you guys in South Africa. And we have got there, so Lions targeting Smith by passing it to him. Yeah, at the moment. You know, that first try that was scored by the Griquas was due to him trying to offload it to no one. And then the Griquas ran through, scoring the try of Cameron Hufka. The second try that almost came about maybe 5 minutes later was because he tried to kick him behind. It got charged down and came back as well. Now 17 and a half minutes gone. Another line out throw here for the Lions. This time 40 metres out from the line. They have hardly been inside of the Griquas line, or inside of the Griquas half, in fact, throughout this game. Big run forward and penalty. It's going to be for not rolling away. I think there's good reason he didn't roll away. He looked a little bit wobbly there, DeVitt. He got stuck in the breakdown. And we'll get the apologies. I know Canada won, says Gasper there. And also we'll get the afternoon Hamish from Windy Cape Town, says Ruth. Hopefully you are doing well. I will mention we got weather warnings here. So at the moment there is a wind warning for gusts of up to about 150 k's. So if that happens, power is probably going to go out. So if we all of a sudden go to a black screen, you know why. But of course, as soon as the power is back, we will be back with more live streams. But I believe it should be all right for now. It's supposed to run pretty much from now up until the last live stream we've got of the day of the Pacific Nations Cup. So it's about 50-50, I believe, in the odds of whether or not the power stays on for that whole time. There's supposed to be trees down and power lines going and all sorts. So hopefully none of that happens, but you never know. Thrown into the front, the Lions taking it nicely, going off to the left-hand side, looping around now. Chance here through the gap for Kilian Peku. They now sit 15 metres out from the line here. Nico Stain, first real attacking chance for the Lions of this whole contest. Chris Smith, the man joining the breakdown. No tackle made from Zwalendaba. Attack and run from WJ Stennekamp. And this is when they start to get rolling near the Lions. Can the Griquas win like Otago this morning? Fun fact about that. The Griquas came in as about double the underdog as Otago were heading into this game, which is why the 7-0 at this point after 19 minutes is so impressive. Another advantage going the way of the Lions. Now outline. Going towards the sideline anyway, but it was stolen by Gershon, where they will go back for the penalty. Griquas is not normally a Currie Cup League contender, says Peter. Says Casper, weren't they in the semi-finals last year, though? And didn't they win it the year prior? Have a look at this. 2024. And the playoffs. Oh, no, they missed out on the playoffs 2024. My apologies. And in fact, they missed out the year before. I was thinking of the Pumas. When did the Griquas win it? Oh, they won it or got to the final in 2022. That was actually the last time they were showing it here in New Zealand. They decided to get rid of it for quite some time, which was very sad. And hi, Ruth, says Craig. Looks like Franco Moraes at the moment is down. Just getting a little bit of a drink. Some deep breaths being taken already for these two sides. Hello, Craig. I hope you're doing okay. Keep an aim and happy, says Ruth. And who just running around the supermarket getting my hot chips and garlic bread. Here's Ruth there. So this would be an easy 3 points here for the Lions. And interestingly enough, they're actually going to take it. They haven't gone risky. And for a side that averaged 40 points per game so far throughout this URC season, there is a certain level of confidence it takes to be down at this point and only go for a 3-pointer. I think it was significant to hold the Lions to 3. Yeah, honestly, I think the Griquas probably wouldn't mind that. Is Otago. Says Kus van der Merwe. So Otago is a side in New Zealand. It's a region of New Zealand as well, down south, around the Dunedin area. And they managed to get themselves the Ranfurly Shield just recently up against Canterbury, who were unbeaten 7 from 7 with a points differential of 150 throughout their first 7 matches. And Otago were able to go into their backyard and take it off them. And now the Griquas just going slowly up to the halfway line. No real intent behind that walk of George Whitehead, using up as many seconds as they can, just trying to keep the gas tank fresh as this match does wear on. Now, ready to kick this one up high. George Whitehead waiting for this one, and nicely taken by the Lions just outside of their 5-metre line. Griquas looking for the steal, but losing his foot underneath him was Oosterhuizen. Now he's Jakotsia hits it up. It looks like Nico Stain going to be rolling this one back. Oh, take a little bit longer, Stain, to be able to kick that one out. But does manage to get it over the sideline. I have to be honest, the past week I've been binge watching New Zealand punter reactions to their big loss. It makes up a little bit for all the pain and suffering the All Blacks caused us. So here's Albert there. And sorry, I've lost TV control watching F1 crashes live. And hi, mate, says Regime. Welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. And how much anybody can take this? Absolutely. The thing is, at the start of this match, it seemed like it should have been one-way traffic. But the Griquas haven't allowed that at all. They have actually taken it to this line side, and it's a great tactic to have, although that is now the first line-out steal that we've seen of the match. That's a drop ball by the Lions again, and the penalty going the way of the Lions for playing a man on the ground. Clubber Kanye complaining about it, but, you know, there's probably plenty that people could complain about him at the moment as well. I know that there were complaints about him even playing in this game, although he has been cleared per se. Looks like a sore hip at the moment for the Lions player. In fact, he's holding his cheek Not the one on his face. 90% of the time, the Lions win home games at Ellis Park, but it is Ruan Fenta who's down with a bit of an injury at the moment. He does not look in a good way. So first of all, he did end up, I would almost consider that as half by a knock on, and then, he almost gets an arm up and under the crotch, like a low blow of sorts. Is there any possibility Griquas to win the finals? At the moment, I would say yes. It's whether or not they can keep this tempo for the rest of the game. The Griquas on fire this year, says Rajen. The penalty is going to be in favour of the Lions with Chris Smith. Again, kicking this one into touch around the halfway line. Griquas not going to allow the Lions to maul them early on, says Ruth. We saw that game up against Bulland for the Lions, how as the match wore on, they just got stronger and stronger in the contest. So I could see the possibility of maybe, by about 50 minutes, that's when either the gas is going to be put flat for this Lions team, or that'll be when the Griquas are still able to hang in there. Angelo Davids chasing after this one. This is going to be a hard challenge in the air, but it's nicely taken by Dylan Mart, who didn't even have to jump for that one, just a little bit too deep off the kick of the Lions. Has the score updated? It is not. Is it going to? No, it hasn't. Wait a moment. I have to get it moving again. My apologies. Of course, I'm on scoreboard duty. Oh, I did actually have it updated. It just did an update. Hang on. There we go. So the only thing I changed there was actually the time, but the score was already 3-7. It just didn't want to say it. Now, Chris Smith going off to the right-hand side. Chance here for Kuan Horn. Running up the middle of the field. Gets through one. Almost got through another. And it's a step from Carling Currie with a lot of pace. And the Lions score their first try of the contest. We're going to have to update the score again because the Lions have just taken the lead in the Currie Cup final. And that is how quick and how dangerous the back three can be of this Lions side. I think if somehow the Griquas lead at halftime, maybe a chance, says Jonathan there. Why is that the Griquas are suddenly on fire? Normally they are not even regarded as a threat. I think Quagga comes from the Griquas, says Casper. I think it's just, they've found consistency throughout this year. They've got a strong group of players. This back three of Hufka, Mart, and also Gershon Weir, I think have made a big difference as well. Solid midfield with Walen Daba as well as Zane Bester. So they've honestly built up a really good team this year. But it's going to be tough. Smith awakens. He's off and running now, says Studs Rays. He just needed to find his rhythm, it seems, Chris Smith. Lions ahead. Game changed fast. I like your haircut. Thanks to the Springboks. Make you look younger, says Rajen. We haven't had too many complaints about it overall, which is ideal. I thought it was going to look a lot worse. Other than Juan, who said that it looks bad and doesn't suit our head at all. But other than that, most people, in fact, probably about 99% have said that they haven't minded it. But big run there from Carling Currie. Managed to get around Oosterhuizen. That little bit of extra pace. Big high fives all round there for the Lions. The nude look is awesome. Are you talking about the hair roof or are you talking about something else? Because it wouldn't surprise me with you either way. Now 15 minutes remaining of this first half. 25 minutes through and the score now sits at 10 points to 7 in favour of the Lions. Now the question is, can the Griquas break this momentum? Or is this when the Lions really start to go? Oh, ball knocked backwards by Ruan Fenta. The head, says Ruth. Oh, and there was actually the knock on the ground from Fenta there. So it means that the Griquas again at the kickoff time made it relatively awkward here for the Lions. A new look hairstyle, says Ruth in there. They're talking about that momentum swing. And this type of matchup, if you are the Griquas, you cannot afford to go behind here. Because the further behind you get, the more chance you've got of just not getting back into the contest. Moment they are only down by the 3 points, and that is more than a makeable margin to be able to get further forward. Like they've said, the Griquas, they need to make this one count. Turn this one into some points. Even if it is a 3. They turned down 3 earlier on. I wonder whether or not they would be regretting that. It's probably 50-50 in terms of whether I'd say it was worth the risk going for the corner. Of course, hindsight's wonderful now that we know that they didn't end up getting the 3 or the corner. So they are just moving the players infield now for another scrum, trying to find some solid ground underfoot. Grass isn't getting ripped up at each and every scrum. Little bit of slipperiness underfoot. I never seen Kiwi lad taking coffee or something to drink or a snack while commentating. Says Casper. Well, I don't drink coffee. We got a water down here and a big bottle. So there we go. We'll break the trend, Casper. There you go. That one was for you. Now another scrum. Still waiting to take place. The same one from before. We've had a couple scrum reset. That one came out very nicely for the Griquas. Away to the left-hand side now. It's Walendaba. Runs it hard and straight at the opposition line. Now Lebenberg. Another pick and go for De Vet. We still haven't actually seen the return of Carl, so I think he might actually have a concussion at this stage, unfortunately for him. Now another pick and go for Ulank. Around the side, it's going to be Davids. George Whitehead asking for the penalty. In fact, it was De Vet this time, saying he was tackled off the ball. Now another pick and go. Sitting 10 metres out now. Still getting a little bit of forward momentum and advantage in play for the Griquas as well. Can't quite reach out to be able to reach the line there for Derek Pretorius, but they'll go back across now. Dylan Mart runs at Clubber Kanye. 1 metre again between the Griquas and the lead in this contest. Lamini thought about reaching out the arm, but couldn't quite do it. Derek Pretorius, he is close, but he's held up, so they will go back for another penalty. They start up here in the morning, still via Black Ferns Dam Canada, all that, and a bag of crisp. Springboks number 1 dam again. So yeah, Shane in there, 5 metres out from the line, offside. The call there up against the Lions once more. Now, looks like the quick tap might be the option here for Oosterhuizen. Bit of a mindset switch here. And now getting close, reaching out, scores the try for the Griquas. And they will take the lead back. It is down to Lions errors at the moment that is allowing the Griquas the opportunity to strike. It's all from the knock-on off kickoff. And this time it is Lawrence Oosterhuizen, and it looks like maybe Janko Ice may have hurt himself in the process of that score. Taking place, let's go, the Griquas, says Lilia B, and I think the Griquas will score here. And commentator built like a brick house, says Inferno. Route 1 went through them all, says Studs Rays. And yeah, it's not the first time we've seen that. We actually saw Ben Tame Funa do it in the Pacific Nations Cup last round up against the Japanese. And Guasti says it was no Loise. Hopefully I said that correctly. And also we have got there, they need the lead at halftime. It is critical. Or crucial, sorry. And 14-10 says Patrick. And there as well, we are still waiting for the kick on my end to see it from George Whitehead. He's sitting 1 from 1 today with 100%. Just lying up the post, letting as much of the 60 seconds pass as possible as well. And that kick has gone over, making the score now 14 points to 10. And damn, look at the reply, that must have hurt, says Inferno. Yeah, well, I think that just that drop ball, you know, all the Lions did wrong there was drop the ball once. And that's all it took for the Griquas to be able to score. And it just shows how clinical they have been throughout the season. The fact that just one little half opportunity can lead to a try. We now kick downfield, nicely taken by the Griquas, who have been claiming their ones, although the ball's been ripped away. Lions back on the attack again. Not quite sure where to go there for Moraes. So he does straight in with the run, 22 metres out from the line. Nico Stain, cross to the left-hand side. Richard Creel with the inside ball and accidental obstruction. It was also a 4-pass too. Cut your hair short on top. It can't get much shorter than this, Ethan. Cutting it on top would be called going bald. The Griquas win today. 90% of Johannesburg citizens will be crying today. Says Jasper. Oh, sorry, says Casper, I should say. I'm not sure whether 90%, because only about maybe like 20% of the stands are full for this game. But I know that a lot of people are excited for that URC next week. How is water in New Zealand since we're now in spring? Does it change depending on what season we're in? It's quite cold at the moment, so maybe that's what it is. Oh, decision here from the touch judge now. We're about to find out what happened there. I think just a bit of a communication. Oh no, it's going to be all right. They make them tough in Kimberley. The pitches are gravel. I used to hate school rugby tours there, says Robert. You look very young. Says Mohadin there. Right, time is back on. 31 minutes through, and the Griquas are still leading. But once again, the Lions, they're handling errors, making this game very close. A lot closer than a lot of people were anticipating, including myself. I thought the Lions were going to be able to run away with this one. There is still time, though. And that is where it is tricky at the moment for a side like the Griquas, because they can't take their foot off the gas whatsoever. Show me how it looks on the side. If you had said please, we might have. But no, it's just shorter. See, it's just a 1 there and a 2 up on top. But now, 8 minutes remaining here. Lamini, he's got the smile on the face at the moment, enjoying all the scrums that we have seen in this game. And yeah, you just see the ground given out from underneath the guys. Griquas scrum looks very competitive considering they're against the URC unit. Yeah, I think that they'll take massive praise from the way that they've been able to scrummage. I still remember their first game up against Borland, where they made Borland's scrum look like it was going to get dominated the whole season, and then it actually ended up not getting dominated. But it was just down to how well the Griquas were hitting and getting that push through. Like, they've got a huge pack in terms of that front row. Lamini, Eddie Davids, got that experience. Come to South Africa, would you go hunting or just a safari or maybe shark cage diving? Probably none of them, to be honest. I'd probably just do a bit of sightseeing rather than trying to catch anything. Have we got there, the Griquas won the Currie Cup in 1970, says Leon. And now Nico Stain. Ball is there for the Lions. How'd they end up with the ball there, I wonder, after the knock on or the forward pass initially from the Lions? Now Angelo Davids goes across Chris Smith. Finding WJ Stennekamp. Shave your beard, please. I am all right, thank you. The barber literally said to me, do not shave your beard or else you will look like you're 12. She didn't say that exact wording. That was the wording of my mum, but the barber said best not to shave the beard. And the Sharks have taught themselves how to get in those cages, says Studs Race. You know, Sharks are pretty smart, to be fair. Now Klabakanye. Currently 6.5 minutes remaining on the clock. Big driving 2-man tackle there from the Griquas defence up to 5 paces in a row. Chris Smith trying to find his way through before he's tackled by Ulunk. How's the crowd? About maybe 15-20% of the stand is full, I'd say, for this matchup. Probably nowhere near the number that they wanted. Now Kuan Horn went for the back line. It might have been accidentally knocked down, was it? Yes, knocked down by the Griquas. So it will be another scrum for the Lions. Look at the Hamish High Hall, looking good there, Hamish. Says Wild there. I don't know why overseas people think South Africa is bad country with no roads or anything. I don't think many people think South Africa don't have roads. Like, you guys have roads like the rest of the world. You got highways and all sorts. And Box versus Boomers, what do you think? Says Dominique. I think that the South Africans should get the job done, but I'm very interested to see what type of side Rassie decides to go with. F1 qualifying again, says Studs Race. And we have there 1970, it's 55 years back. Says Casper, what time are you sleeping? I have done my sleeping. I got about 2 hours before this live stream started. And that is my sleeping till tomorrow night. So probably about 24 hours before I sleep again. And 20% of the stand is full. But I can tell you most pubs in Johannesburg is 100% full. Says Casper there. Currently 6 minutes left of this first half. We better update this score, at least for the clock anyway. It's still very close on the score sheet. Are you going out tomorrow? No idea. Don't think so. Hopefully that's the only sneeze that we're going to get hit by. Nico Stain, though, 20 metres out from the line now. For the Lions again, they've started winning the territory battle a little bit, or at least in terms of where they are on the field. Been a lot more time spent in the last 10 minutes than they had throughout the first about 20 minutes of the game. Front rows collapse, and it is going to be the penalty advantage in favour of the Lions. Richard Creel goes straight through, and he will score the try between the posts. Just a half little mistake there from the Griquas, and again, they end up conceding that try. It's just that one missed tackle. That has happened twice now. People think you ride elephants and lions to school will work, bro. I don't think anyone would think you ride a lion to work. That just seems like a bad idea. Which URC would you like to interview? says Inferno. As in like what team or what player? But breaking through. Nicely done, Richard Creel. Dylan Mard is asking where his defence was. Cool Buzzcut, love the tie. Very retro. I stream this in black and white, says Robert. I'm staying up to watch you, says Mohadin. And Alicia says Wild in there too. Which team? See, I don't know. I honestly would take any team that wants me if I was going to do some sort of interviews type situation. Except maybe Zebre, only because I think I wouldn't be able to. I'd have to learn Italian very quickly just to have the best chance. But now, kick has gone over, making the score now 17 points to 14. As the Griquas playing against the URC team, they are. This is pretty much what the Lions will have lining up next week in their URC opener up against Cardiff, with maybe a couple changes here and there. And this try will be the turning point in the game. Lions won't look back from here. And what is the bet if the Springboks won the Rugby Championship? Well, they are currently favourites. So they are expected to win from here on out. George Whitehead ready to kick this one off. His kickoffs have been very strong throughout this half, as well as some pretty weak stuff coming from the Lions in terms of being able to actually take that aerial ball. One more try here for the Lions before the halftime break could be a very dangerous one for the Griquas. Well taken this time by Fenta. It's not an easy one, almost dropping on him a little bit. Lions tried, says Briston. They certainly did, and now they lead this game 17 points to 14 with just the 3 minutes remaining. Nico Stain back to Kjuan Horn. Creates a nice angle for himself and does get that one into touch. What if Australia win against the All Blacks? There's Mohadin. Then Australia have a little bit more chance of winning because of those extra 2 bonus points that they shouldn't have gotten. But, yeah, there's still a bit that can happen. But I am very surprised anytime someone says that South Africa aren't favourites based off the games that they've got left, as well as the odds that pretty much every single bookie has around the world at the moment. Most of the Lions players were probably scholars of high school help, says Casper. Now that one's going to be thrown over the back. Nicely taken by Zwalin Dabo, who's driven backwards by Fenta and Klabakanya. Drop goal attempted here from George Whitehead. It's going to be missing away to the side and does end up going dead. So they will be able to go back for the 22 dropout. Just a little bit of a different tactic there from the Griquas, seeing whether or not it would work. But Zwalin Dabo chose the wrong men to run out. And Klabakanya and Fenta both ended up driving him very far backwards. Just talking about that 22 dropout, they have to get everyone back behind. So yeah, attempting at altitude there for George Whitehead. Would have just about had the distance. What if team each lose one game? Then who win the championship, says Mohadin. Then it would come down to points differential and also the points in general. That's a big kick downfield. George Whitehead now looking to run it out from his own 22. Gets around Angelo Davids. And that one does not find touch. Kjuan Horn, that was close to his back foot slipping out as he went to plant his foot. Close to the sideline, and Horn does end up knocking it out. Will be the line out now for the Griquas. 90 seconds remaining of this first half. It is still close, ladies and gents. One moment, I am about to sneeze, so I will very quickly mute. There's about 3 in a row. It's a good effort we have got there. I hope England loses later and I get the third, fourth final I want. France is there. A rugby god to defend poor Kiwis. Says Shane, but now, chance here for the Griquas. And another penalty this time for not rolling away. Going against the Lions. That is against Chris Smith as well. He's had far from his best game throughout this matchup, and I wouldn't even be surprised if they make an early switch here, other than the fact that he is a very good option off the kicking tee for this side. What time is the finals game next week? It is at 4 a.m. New Zealand time, so 6 p.m. South African time. It actually overlaps with the match taking place between South Africa and Argentina, so it's a bit of an awkward one. We have got there my prediction for the Women's World Cup in 2029 is that the Kiwis will be back to the throttle. Springboks will probably be geared up to win the 2029 Ladies World Cup. Australia All Blacks draw. A 1-1 at the Springboks will probably take it, says Ethan Hooker. Now, the verge of halftime is just about here. There's the siren sounding, so we just got this one last play. And honestly, going into the sheds, I think the Griquas would be pretty happy with how they sit right now. Haven't had a huge amount of mistakes as of yet. Now, that does not mean that the mistakes can't creep in throughout that second half, but some form of points here before the end of the first half be absolutely massive for them. But now, change in direction there. Caleb Abraham's a little bit hesitant. Couldn't quite find the gap that he was after. 22 metres out from the line now. Now chance again. Onto the right-hand side once more. We have got their Blackfoots to serve. Better coaching in more games. Sad studs race. Now pick and go from Gershon Ware. Couple players very slow to get up to their feet here for the Griquas. Another run from Abrahams and it's obstruction. Right, the Lions might consider going here. I don't know whether or not they need to take the risk of booting this ball into touch. And what you do in the South African game or the women's final, we will be doing the South African game. But Chris Smith, he's just checking to make sure that it is half-time. Do they want to kick it out or do they want to go for one more line out? I think Clubber Kanye's saying, let's go for one more attack, boys. Oh, no. Obviously, he's been told, maybe Clubber Kanye said, don't do one more. So they will take the tap. They will boot this ball out in at halftime in this contest. It is 17 points to 14 in favour of the favourites. Now, currently in the odds, the Griquas are $7.50 underdogs here heading into this contest. Now, of course, the option is also there, I believe, of extra time in this match. But it's been an eventful first 40 minutes. And you have to say it's a lot more competitive. The Lions, almost every kickoff, would make a mistake that then led to the Griquas creating a bit of an attack. Australia and New Zealand will probably draw 1-1. Springboks probably take 2 of 2. So here's Ethan Hooker there. Yeah, so there's some intriguing matches still to come in the Rugby Championship. And the fact that every single side has had 2 wins, 2 losses, I think just adds to the suspense of the next round. Of course, taking place next weekend. We are going to be covering that one on the channel as well. So anyone who is new, be sure, of course, to hit that like button. Yeah, a very intriguing one. And very hard to predict. As it's going overtime for the semi-final, says Mohadin. So this game initially, I will be honest, this game is much closer than I thought it would be. By miles. I thought that by now we would have seen the Lions ahead by about 10. Which meant that by the time that France versus England women's game was taking place, I thought the Lions would have this game in the bag, but the Griquas have fully surprised me here. So there is going to be a little bit of an overlap for this one, and we will have to try and balance it out a bit. What we will probably end up doing is continuing to cover this game on that next live stream between England and France for the Women's World Cup semi-final, and then kind of give both updates at the same time. A little bit of multitasking like we have a couple of the recent weeks. But yeah, this game, like I said, much closer than I thought we were going to see, which I think is fantastic for the Griquas. Still going to be tough, though, in terms of what we would be expecting to see from the Griquas second half. In your opinion, do you think Canada takes it or England? I think it's tricky, to be honest, because England are the favourites and they're expected to win the whole thing. But Canada have played like a team that think they're the favourites, if that makes sense. Like, they have just shown intent all throughout the competition. And, you know, I think they're going to end up doing pretty well in that final. I hope it's competitive anyway. However, the Griquas are holding their own in the first half. Hope Griquas can last the 80 minutes, says Mornay. And also we got there from Bib. Sorry, I'm late. The buzz cut suits you, Hamish. Says Ben, thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. It will only take a couple of weeks for it to go back to the longer length that we are used to seeing. But currently, yeah, it's definitely colder, I will mention, with the less. Although it says that temperatures here are to rise. Currently sitting at about 6 degrees Celsius, so that will be quite nice. But looking through at the benches for these two sides, Mornay Brandon there. And that number 16 jersey, Skurman as the other two front row replacements. Landsberg at number 19 with Renzo Duplessis. Now, he can be quite the handy player. Definitely later on in the game, when he's got a fresh gas tank, can really make opposition sides pay. Backline, Hassim Pede, Dobella, and also Reniard Yonka. I mentioned how this has been far from Chris Smith's best game, but I still don't see them quite taking him off yet, mainly because of that ability that he has when it comes to those kicks, being able to get them over, and that could be so crucial in this type of match, definitely if it does end up going down. To the wire for the Griquas, they have got Lanya, Leons, and also Prinsloo. David has already made his way out onto the field. That was due to the head knock of Carlisle's, and he hasn't actually returned at this point. So it is safe to say he probably won't for the rest of this game. They've also got a couple handy options in terms of the replacement backs. Looking out for Nell in the second 40, but it'll be very intriguing. Like I said, this game close, much closer than people thought, but that's good. That's what you want in a Carling Currie Cup final, and I feel like if anything, the Lions are going to get a little bit of a talking to in the halftime break because they came in expecting to win this game by a large margin, and currently they haven't quite been able to do that. They're expected to win it by at least 14 points. I don't know whether or not that's still going to happen in this matchup. I feel like they're making it very difficult for them in this game, the Griquas. However, there I saw my mum, says Devan. I assume you're talking about in the screen. And also, on what channel are you watching this game? It is on Sky Sport 9 here in New Zealand, so it is pretty far down in terms of the order. I was worried for a second because last week's game between the Lions and Boland, they didn't actually show the option there. We have got there. Kiwi Lad, split your screen next week. Then you can commentate both games same time. The Windows key to split your screen is Windows key left arrow. Snaps the active window to the left half. So yeah, there's Casper there. And also we have got their Hamish real Seesaw game this. Yeah, the fact that the Griquas scored early, I think was the big one that surprised a lot of people. Then from there, the Lions worked their way back into the lead. Then we ended up seeing the Griquas take it back and then the Lions leading at halftime, which I think is the worst possible time, of course, with the exception of full time, for the Griquas to be down. And how much did the buzz cut cost you? It was actually free. Because I had been in there 6 days prior, she decided that, like, I tried to pay twice. And I said, I got to give you something for it. But she was like, nah. Like, the fact that you were only just here, and it took, like, probably 2 minutes to be able to trim it. So I ended up giving her a Kiwi Lads pen instead, which was like a limited edition 1 of 1 type of pen that we had made. We have there, what is your post address? I'll send you a Bok beanie. So yeah, Ben there. Yeah, see, I haven't got any... Well, I've got a slightly Springbok merchandise thing, but it's not really the official merchandise. It's just something that says, like, Springboks World Champs. But I was looking at the kit the other day, and it's like 250 New Zealand dollars for the kit, which is quite pricey. Even the All Blacks kit only stings you maybe 150 or somewhere around there. I've kind of cursed all my teams today. Sorry, Lions. Says Studs race. It was the Blue Bulls versus Lions final. The stadium would be packed. Says Casper. Although if the Blue Bulls wanted that to happen, they would have played their URC guys earlier rather than leaving it to the last minute to try and find a miracle. I'm watching on Sky as well. From South Africa, says Briston. Well, I got home already. Coffee, ding-dong battle here. Lions up. And Greg was coming back soon, says Ruth. They're just saying there about how the Lions, they have been forced to play rugby from their half. Although I do think that momentum was switching in the final kind of 15 or so minutes of the game. They weren't really getting forced back as much. Are you going to be live for the Stormers versus Leinster game? I am hoping to be. I don't believe there's any overlaps with any other matchup that we would be covering for that Saturday morning game. So yeah, hopefully we will be able to cover both of them on the channel. Penalties conceded at the moment, 6 going against the Griquas compared to the 3 against the Lions. Tackles made compared to tackles missed. The Griquas, they have missed 20 tackles, making 37. It's a little bit rough. I send you a signed Springbok shirt if you want. There's Ethan Hooker there. And also good afternoon, mate. And who is your player of the first half? Oh, first half player of the half, I would say, for me is either, see, I want to kind of say Dylan Mart for a couple of the times that he's done well under the high ball, plus putting on pressure, but I don't know whether or not he would be the best of everyone out there. I think that we're seeing quite a bit of Lawrence Oosterhuizen for the Griquas, and then for the Lions, I would say best player out there on the field at the moment probably would have to be either Ruan Fenter in that loose forward trio, although he's dropped the ball a couple times. I don't know if anyone's had a perfect game as of yet. Nico Stain's been all right, and a couple of solid runs from the back from Q Horn, but he's also made a few errors. So tell me, Hamish, what did they say towards Scott Robertson? Hopefully not bad. You can imagine what they said towards him with the fact that he lost by the biggest margin ever on New Zealand soil. But, yeah, it's one of those ones, it's just best to avoid social media if you're anything connected in terms of the All Blacks or like a coach or a player or a family member of anyone playing, because it's just a disgusting place. We have got there as game over. It is not. It is halftime at the moment, 17 points to 14. Lions supporters actually strong. Most Lions supporters want them to win. Well, I'd like to think most of their own supporters would want them to win this match. It'd be a bit weird if they were supporting the other team in this scenario. Box shirts and people crying here in the neighbourhood. Says Ruth there. And nobody really want the Lions to win, not even the Lions. Says Albert. And there. But it is extra large, says Ethan Hooker. For the sizing as well. Second half of this contest just around the corner. Just began, says Arno. So yeah, we got plenty more time left in this contest. 40 minutes-ish to be exact. Although we are going to be covering the next about 25 minutes of this game. And then we are going over to that Women's World Cup semi-final, where we will continue to cover this game on that one as well. We'll be watching in a split-screen situation. Really hope the Griquas wins these little boys. That needs some better wording, I have to say. Because that sounds like they're winning children as their prize. I get a score prediction for Saturday. Says Ethan Hooker. Next week, Wimpy I'll be giving free cappuccinos again if you wear a Buck jersey. What changes do you think Scott Robertson must make? He's got a few. Like, at the end of the day, like, it is going to be one that they should make a few switches, but whether or not they do is a different story. As a Bull supporter coming the Griquas, they really need and deserve some silverware. Says Robert, and hello. Says Arno. And there as well. But yeah, I hope you are doing extremely well. I hope you're excited for the second half of this URC game. This Currie Cup game. Of course, the URC starting up in the very near future next week. And Hamish, don't worry. You tell me who cut your hair and I'll kick his ass for you. No one does a friend of mine like that and gets away with it, says Mr. Number One. It's actually a female. And she actually watches the channel. So she might have seen you say that. But no, it was a bet that we ended up making, not with the barber, but with the chat. And at the end of the day, I could have just stuck with my original bet, which was if South Africa won both games, I had to get it. But instead, I decided to add a light goal into the equation for the second match, and it ended up getting hit. So, man of the word, not going to be backing out after it. And to the barber's credit, they did give it to me for free because I was just there. Who is Scott Robertson? I only know Razor. Says Casper. You are joking, right, Casper? I at least hope that you are. And as a Bull supporter, come on, the Griquas, they deserve. I need some silverware, says Robert. And hello, says Arno again. When is the game going to start? The game started 45 minutes ago. We are not too far away from the second half. Getting back underway. Two sides just in the tunnels at the moment, having a last-minute chat for making their way out onto the field. The Griquas will feel like they've got a good chance here. But for them to be able to win this, they have to get off to a flying start. Another quick try like they did in the first half, because if they can't get that early point, I feel like they'll just start to drift behind that little bit more. The Lions have been a great second-half team. We saw that in their game up against Boland, how they just kept on going and going and going. And man, it's dressed like a couple Lego blocks by the looks of it. Okay, crowd starting to make some noise as we see the Griquas and the Lions making their way back out of the tunnel. Go the Lions, says Arno there. And it's that big question of when are these two sides going to be using their benches? We'll also mention the last time that these two sides played was only a few weeks ago. And the Lions managed to win it 37 points to 7 at the same ground. So already we are seeing the Griquas do better than it was expected of them. Now, they are $7 underdogs compared to their $8.75 that they were at the start of the game. So they're given a little bit more of a chance. But they are still massive underdogs to go on, do something here. We have got there, come on, Lions, double your score, says Casper. Yeah, they just need to be able to catch that kickoff. That was one thing that cost them a huge amount of territory and also possession throughout that first half. But if they clean it up and do it well, it could certainly bring the impact here. George Whitehead ready to kick off the second half. And we are back underway in this Carling Currie Cup final. The Griquas taking on the Lions. And once again, ball going straight into the hands of Ruan Fente. He seems to be the man that they do target a lot when it comes to those kickoffs. Are we not going to see the game? Sadly, not due to YouTube's licensing. Any match footage or audio gets you taken straight off YouTube, but it's on DSTV, it's on Sky Sport, it's on Stan Sport. There are quite a few options for being able to watch it depending on where you are in the world. That one from Kuan Horn does not find touch. Come on, the Griquas. Now drop kick attempted from miles out and just misses away to the right-hand side. George Whitehead, he's keen to get that 3 points back. And it's a tactic that he's used already twice throughout this match. He hasn't got either of them over. Australia think they have a chance. Break their Edinburgh Hoodoo. Be amazing for Australia, says Mono Lagrange. And Boulan Cavaliers is still the best, only unbeaten team of Wellington, says Briston. And come on, the Griquas, says Angelique. Now kick downfield from Kuan Horn. He actually gets a lot more distance on that as he knows George Whitehead would be considering the drop kick again, but this time not able to. Puts it high instead. Cameron Hufka chasing after it, running on nicely. Taken by Chris Smith. Can't quite break the line. Lions protecting that ball nicely. Shoveling it away to the left-hand side. It's going to be called as a tackle. And Bakudo is apparently unbreakable. There's Casper. Oh, mistake made by Kuan Horn. And it's another knock on from the 15. Be disappointed here. He's had quite a few errors from the back. Do you see the gameplay? Sadly not, because if we show any match footage or audio, we get taken straight off YouTube. Sure here suits you. Says Leon there. And Griquas coming soon. Like they've just said, another opportunity lost for this Lions team. They've had 5 handling errors compared to the Griquas 2 throughout this game. So it's just been far from clinical for this Lions team. And it's given the Lions half a sniff. Well, sorry, the Griquas half a sniff of getting back into this game. Now, Caleb Abrahams ready to feed it in. But why? Because it is illegal. I don't really want to go to jail. Although I've got the haircut for it now. But now, scrum feed. When a Kiwi play on Eden Park, they change it to superheroes. Says Casper there. The ball's going to be fed in. Big push from the Lions, but the Griquas getting it out quickly. Oh, that's bad for Chris Smith. He is out, and he is injured. Right. I mentioned about how they'll probably be taking Chris Smith off early. It's not because of this, though. It's because he's taken a nasty knock, and he is going to have to go from the field here now. There is going to be a stoppage. They've already got the stretcher on the field for Chris Smith. It looks like from that collision, he's probably going to be missing the first couple rounds of the URC as well. In your own opinion, can Australia break the Edinburgh Hoodoo? One day I think they will. Sure hair suits you. I'll get a Merca 34 safety razor. Shave that beard, says Leon. Although I was told by the barber as well as my mum, they both said don't shave the beard. Because if I shave the beard, I'm going to look like I'm just out of high school. And that's not good. We want to be looking slightly older. We got an Angelo Davids fan meter. Someone has 100%, but Chris Smith is not 100% at the moment. Did hit his head very hard on the back of the ground. Now we have got there, Hamish. You're looking absolutely fantastic. No need to watch the game. Says Rip, can you talk Afrikaans? I can only say a few words. I have Afrikaans as your Sky game leading, because mine shows a scrum. At the moment, mine's got Chris Smith injured. So I might be a little bit ahead, perhaps. And Australia won't come close to win at Eden Park. Says Casper. Just showing there some of the great runs from Ulunk throughout this match, as well as Oosterhuizen. That loose forward trio has been busy for them in this match. It looks like the scrum is just about ready to go. I think that they have moved Chris Smith, I think. We won't be a mile away. Getting back underway. That first try of the match for the Griquas. It was off a Chris Smith error. They're passing it to no one except for Cameron Hufka. He manages to score it early on. It made the Griquas supporters very happy with the start that they had. It was the little kick in behind. And Chris Smith, it was actually the counter-attack from Kuan Horn up the middle, and now it's okay. How's your favourites to lift the championship? If we're talking about the Currie Cup, I am thinking at the moment I'd still back the Lions from here. So you're telling me Australia has no chance against the All Blacks next weekend? That is what Casper said. I wish I had your confidence, Casper, says Studs Race. They're just showing there the Oosterhuizen finish as well for the Griquas. This game has been very seesaw. I think we've seen, I want to say we've seen 2 lead changes. In fact, it's probably more than that. It's probably about 3, 4 lead changes throughout the early stages of this match. No Nation Says Briston. So you're talking about the Rugby Championship. I've said from the start that I thought South Africa were winning the comp, which was met with a lot of criticism because, of course, New Zealand had 2 home games, but I didn't see a way that New Zealand got out of both games without it being 1-1 on New Zealand soil. How can our SABC channel show the world athletics and they can't show our own Currie Cup final, says Cats? But I think it's down to the SuperSport broadcasting, I would think, in terms of what's locked in and what's allowed and what isn't allowed to be covered. They are still dealing to Chris Smith, I should mention. Hopefully not going to be down for too much longer. It's definitely the last thing that the Lions would have wanted, the early change in this second half, no matter whether Chris Smith was having a good game or not. You don't want to be losing those players towards the next round. We do see the URC. The Australia don't have a Skelton or a Tom Wright, so they won't survive the backlash, says Albert. What is your prediction for next weekend's Rugby Championship match? It says, Mono, we will be doing predictions after the teams are announced in a preview later on. I think that Rassi, once again, will probably go quite early in his team announcement. Yeah, still a decent amount of support for the Lions in the stands. Quite a few Griquas supporters I have seen as well, which is fantastic. Over there, I agree, Albert. Australia won't survive. Says Casper. And also, I think it's down to the fact that other sides really don't, like, for the sake of their own Rugby Championship hopes, don't want Australia to do well in that game. Because if they do, they are then in the box seat to win the whole Rugby Championship. Because of those extra 2 bonus points. They sit number 1 on the table at the moment. Chris Smith is actually still down. They are still getting him all strapped in and ready to move. Australia sold out after the Eden Park game. Says Briston there. And also we got there, let's go the Lions. Says Ronald. And there too. But yeah, hefty stoppage at the moment. Well, they do just deal with Chris Smith this game. Still another 38 minutes remaining. Like I mentioned, by the end of this one, we are going to be going over to that England versus France women's semi-final match taking place of the Women's World Cup. But we will be continuing the coverage of this game over on that stream in terms of the score updates, everything along those lines as well. There is the big cheer from the crowd, so that is for Chris Smith being taken off the field. They're wishing him a speedy recovery there too. Who do you think is going to win? I think that if we don't see the Griquas score themselves a try very soon, I think it's going to be the Lions. You see there, Dobella. A little bit of pressure for him now. He does make his way out onto the field in an important time throughout this match. And they're right off Kangaroo. Outback Australia's off. They're also lethal, says Ruth. Caleb Abrahams to feed this ball into the scrum. Bit of a stoppage like I mentioned, so we'll see what the momentum's like now as well in Dubba. It's actually a very big benefit for both sides due to the stoppage. They'll get a little bit more air in the lungs. A pick and go from De Vet. He stayed out there on the field due to the injury of Carl Els. Off to the left-hand side, Eddie Davids just making a couple more meters. No hands is the call from the referee. Another pick and go from the Griquas, Jared Kents. Man who makes back-to-back tackles. 30 years champions, says Briston there. And also we have got there, it is always funny to see Aussies walk around with their sad kangaroo faces when they lose the big matches. You talk too much, says Arno. That's kind of what commentary is. Now pass on the outside. Chance here out wide. Oh, little bit of a step attempt from Gershon, where as he does slip and he will get driven over the sideline. They'll go back for the original penalty advantage. Now, I'm intrigued here because we have seen multiple times that at this point in time, goal kicking wise, George Whitehead has gone for multiple chances at a drop kick. Okay, they are taking on the 3. What happened to that beautiful locks of hair? Is this the morning of the Black Ferns? How are you holding up, says David. It was actually already cut on Thursday, and it was due to South Africa beating New Zealand last week. We ended up hitting a light goal, and I unfortunately did decide to agree to a new forfeit rather than the original one. If it was the original one, I would still have hair, as South Africa did not win both games on New Zealand soil. Why can't we see? Copyright infringements. It's illegal. Any match footage gets you booted away. Where are you watching from? I'm watching from New Zealand. It is currently 2:10 a.m. here. George Whitehead, gets the kick over, 45 minutes through, and it is 17-all now between these two sides in the final. This one much closer than it was anticipated, but can the Lions find their momentum late? They've already dropped the ball 5 times. You ready for Red Roses versus France? I am indeed. It's going to be a bit of a hectic one. This game, like I mentioned, much closer than it was supposed to be. So it does mean that we'll be heading over for that next live stream with a little bit of doubt in terms of who is going to be winning this game. But now, going up. Oh, Griquas. The ball has been knocked backwards. They claim it, and Henko van Wyk just scored for the Lions. And that is a big moment. So the Lions just firing back 20 seconds, if not less than that, after just conceding the 3 points. We have got there also, Kiwi can't show any live footage. They will lock up his channel. And also, we don't want to have to see Hamish in jail. It's better see as Ruth. Yeah, just a loose ball, not cleaned up. And then on the outside, nicely done, Henko van Wyk to be able to finish it off. Was there a knock on? There was not. Just not taken cleanly by the Griquas, and an awkward bouncing ball. It's a horrid bounce of the ball. It certainly is. The Griquas getting a nice bounce for their first try of the day, but certainly not a nice bounce there. With how that one tried to avoid them. Big mistake, says Lilia. Huge mistake. At the worst possible time as well. Just after getting the points to bring them back to level. Dobella with the tough kick. And misses away to the side. It's going to make the score now 22 points to 17 after the 46 minutes. I know for New Zealand panic, been a lot of fire, brimstone and angry depression after 43-10 last week. I remember how bad the Box were 10 years ago, says Robert. Yeah, I think a lot of people are writing the Kiwis off already in terms of like they've decided, nah, New Zealand never going to be top 2 again. But, you know, it's a week-by-week thing. Sometimes you have a good week, sometimes you have a bad week. And New Zealand had a pretty bad second half. First half, they were leading in that game. So, you know, there was still some things that they can take out of that game. Oh, nicely taken this time by Dylan Mark, but he knocks it on. I think Lamini is trying to ask the question of whether or not that was played in the air. It comes off the boot of Nico Stain straight sideways, and it does become the penalty now for a tackle in the air. And Western Province and Borland are having their club finals today. Western Province Women's League won by Belleville on DSTV. And Kiwi Lad cannot wear an Australian jersey, then YouTube will lock up his channel, says Casper. But now, George White here, what is the decision now from the Griquas? They have changed their mindset again. They are going for the corner. I hear you're leaving YouTube. Am I? Who told you that? Because I haven't been told yet, so unless I'm being sacked by someone. We have you there, what is wrong with the Griquas, giving points away straight after scoring, says Fleshard. Yeah, it's something that you can't afford to do in a final, is it? Because, you know, as soon as you do all the hard work just to then give it away straight afterwards, it just hurts you. And it is one that really hurts your coach as well. Nicely taken by the Griquas again, looking for the rolling maul here. It is well set. Trying to get this thing moving away from a sideways direction they've been told to use at once. Looks like the Lions are coming through the middle. Abrahams with the inside ball. Dylan Mart will be over the line. Did he get it down? He's held up for the Griquas. Very close to scoring. And it's going to be now the goal line dropout. Brilliant defence from it. Was in fact Nico Stain who managed to stop him. But that's another big moment. I have bigger concerns than New Zealand not playing watching. The more structured set-piece rugby we have now, says the Suds Race. And also go the Lions, says Arno. And yeah, what do the team win today? They win the Carling Currie Cup if they manage to win this matchup. Now kick long from Kieran Horn. And they were only leading by a penalty, says Ethan Hooker. Drop kick again from George Whitehead. He's been going to it. That is another miss for him. That is now 3 times in a row George Whitehead has gone for a a drop kick and has missed them. Now, on another given day, he probably would have slotted over 3 from 3. But just curling away to the right-hand side. And, you know, you're in that scenario here. It's all well and good if it goes over. But if it doesn't, you're giving up half the field of pretty much territory And now they're back inside of their own half here, the Griquas, and having to think about kicking, although it looks like Gershon Ware is going to try and run that ball. He's asking for a penalty to the referee on his way down. Now Langya, good run from him, almost got held up by the Lions defence. Pick and go around the side of the breakdown. Now Eddie Davids, why are you practicing his drop goals? What colour is the Griquas shirt? They are kind of like a half by bluey green, almost like a cyan type of colour for the Griquas today. Yeah, shade of blue. Going off to the left-hand side, another step there, Zane Bester straight through. He has been phenomenal throughout this year. Wide cut-out pass to Dylan Mart. Oh, great stepping from the big man, but he's driven out. That is fantastic defence. Little bit of afters there from Kieran Horn, who decides to try and push him on the back of the head. And I think one of the Griquas players just warned him and said, you try that again and see what happens. But Zane Bester, he just cut through the defensive line. Some great stepping there. And then Kieran Horn pushing him over the sideline. The push afterwards wasn't necessary. That's just a little bit of ego from the little fella at the back. But now, going to be chance for the Lions 5 metres out from the line. And nicely claimed, although the Griquas almost managed to take it back. Nico Stain making an extra 5 metres. They do not understand. You only try to win a game from drop kicks if your name is Nath Botha. And also we have got there, should have scored there, says Lilia there. They were in the box seat to be able to do so. Just couldn't quite finish it off. Now Nico Stain does the diving pass back into the pocket to Kieran Horn. And he does manage to get that ball into touch. Talking about that old style of passing in terms of the dive. To put it back into the pocket about 40 metres out from the line now. The Griquas are going to have themselves the line out. Only 51 minutes through in this contest, ladies and gentlemen. We will be going through to about the 60-minute mark. And then, like I mentioned, we will be popping over to that next live stream for the women's semi-final, while also covering this game on the channel too. A little bit of a multi-stream situation going in a split-screen view. Now off to the left-hand side, attack and run forward again for the Griquas. George Whitehead, that looked like a forward pass on the inside to Dylan Mart. Yes, it was. The next round of the Rugby Championship is going to be tough. Australia winning at Eden Park would be classic poetry. South Africa needs our beloved rivals to bounce back. So here's Robert. Yeah, see, it's a weird scenario, isn't it? Because, you know, social media this week, the ones who have been really ripping into the All Blacks and giving them stick, this week have to support them for the sake of South Africa having a good chance of winning the Rugby Championship. So it just shows week by week how things can really change. But, yeah, they've gone from enemy number one to now the best of buddies as long as they beat Australia. Well, the Kiwis, Griquas lose, the Lions win. And we have got there, geez Louise, past the speed of light. Looks like a bit of an injury here for Richard Creel. It's a bit slow getting back up to his feet there, Creel. And we have got the hello, darling Griquas going okay. Says Ruth. And he could kick the leather off the ball. In fact, bring back leather balls. Says I lollipop. And Lunk back up to his feet though. Scrum feet here for the Lions will be sitting about maybe 40 metres out from their try line. Nico Stain. Ready to put the ball in again. One more try here for the Lions, and I think that this game is almost secured. Just from the mistakes that we're seeing from the Griquas. Don't get me wrong, they've had enough attacking chances, but they haven't been able to finish anything. At least in the second half, they've had a couple really good chances. Both times Dylan Mart has just not quite managed to get that ball down. I mentioned there that Clubber Kanye, he has made his way off of the pitch. And that is Schoolman, who has made his way on. And high roof, Griquas are definitely doing okay. Says Lilia, yeah, I think they're doing much better than a lot of people thought that they would in this matchup, which is, you know, terrific news for this Griquas side. Now ball goes in, Nico Stain. Oh, that's a big push from the Griquas. That one's bouncing around all over the place at scrum time, but it has still come out the back for the Lions. Hiko Van Wyk going for the little kick in behind, looking for a 50-22. It will curl and go into touch. Line out now for the Griquas. The Griquas will win, says Keenan there. And Lions will say, will win, says Ruth. says Casper. They're just talking to someone in the crowd who did dye their hair kind of a purplish blue for this one. Now line out throw for the Griquas. 30 metres out from the line. It was a contestable line out now. George Whitehead going for the chip in behind, and it goes straight into the hands of the Lions. Richard Creel looking to run it back. Just loses his footing, but manages to fire his offload up 22 metres out from the line now. And a chance here on hot attack for the Lions. Nico Stain popping it in behind. Another step there and a drop ball from Angelo Davids. The moment, just mistake after mistake. Actually, for both of these sides when it comes to their attack, a lot of handling errors, which has not boded well for either side when it comes to that attack. The way that they've been able to move that ball around. Like they're saying, just very difficult to be able to take that ball. It's moving the way that it is. We have got there, the Griquas are wanting to get one, says Roof, and they do need one. In the near future, a try is a must if you are this Griquas side. If they don't score before that 60-minute mark and then the Lions get either a 3 or a 7, that could be all over. Now, ready to feed this ball in again here for the Griquas. And not a good pass. Is he a fly half? Says I lollipop. The one who passed it was Henko van Wyk, so number 13. In that case, I'm not Western Province. I'm a Shark supporter. Oh, sorry, I'm not Western Province or a Shark supporter, says Ruth. Now another scrum. This time for the Griquas, 25 metres out from their line. Looked like a bit of an early push there from the Lions, and they do get the free kick for the early shove. A little bit too much there. Oh, double blow of the whistle there from the ref. Scoreboard duty, please. One moment, we'll go like this. It's going to update itself. Everything but the time. It's decided to move. Go like that. There we go. Now it has updated itself. Now kicking this one towards the sideline again here. One second, we'll go like that. We'll go like that, and that one. It's a good chase coming in from the Griquas, but the Lions get themselves the penalty just coming in off the feet there. They're just saying there that they need to stay on their feet. Not quite what they were able to do. Where are the Griquas from? They are from Kimberley. Now again, chance to kick this one towards the corner for the Lions. That one does fine touch for Dobella. About 30 metres from the line. I'm a Cheetahs fan, says one. They had a pretty decent season, the Cheetahs overall. Had some great moments throughout the URC. Will be nice if the Griquas can pull this one off, says Skulk Brand. It would be absolutely massive for them. Definitely because this game, like I mentioned, they came in as huge underdogs heading into this matchup. The Griquas were expected to win it. Oh, sorry, the Lions were expected to win it by a big margin. Oh, there's a knock on there from the Griquas at line-out time, so it does give the ball to Nico Stain, who got absolutely crunched from the side. They'll go back for another scrum. Cheetahs of the Week team says Juan. Juan did say that he's a Cheetahs fan. Casper, not that they were weak. And Griquas, the Northern Cape, says Roof, and yeah, just getting the fingertip to it. They're not quite able to get the steal for Derek Pretorius. Over there, hello Amish, how are you doing? I just want to know why you think the big unions done a bit bad in the Currie Cup this season. Teams like Sharks, Bulls, Cheetahs, and Western Province, it's actually heartbreaking. Well, I think for the likes of the Bulls and the Sharks, and also Western Province, it was because they didn't use their main URC guys up until the final round, where they were using it as a warm-up for the URC competition. So those sides were understandable. I think the Cheetahs were a little bit unlucky. You know, that game up against the Griquas, they just didn't play their best rugby. Although some did feel like they had a good chance of trying to push the Lions a little bit here if they had made it to the final. Another advantage now for the Lions. And this one is going to be about 32, 33 metres out from the goal line. This could be a three-pointer if they want it here, and that would extend the lead to more than the 7 points. Lions is going to win, says one. All right, Dorbella's kicking for the corner. He did miss his last kick, so maybe that is something to do with it. If Chris Smith was still out there, I do think that they would have probably gone for the posts. But that one, right in the corner here. The Lions going for the jugular and trying to finish this one off. There is the advantage. It was already in play at the scrum. Could this one be the big difference maker currently? We are sitting 5 minutes away from kickoff of England versus France. And like I mentioned, we are going to be transferring over to that stream. But while we are on that stream, we are still giving updates about this game as well. That ball was slightly trapped in there. Another advantage now to the Lions. Ruan Fenta. And another advantage. Gets the offload away. Stain going with the pop pass up to WJ Stennekamp. He's lost his scrum cap at this point. Just saw that Jimmy Stonehouse from the Pumas is moving to the Sharks. Don't know for how long. Sees Andre pick and go. Angelo Davis, two-man tackle on him with a massive shot. And that was the error from the Lions. They should have gone for the post. Although, if they score now, it was a brilliant decision trying to reach out and find a grounding. Can't quite do it. There is a huge body piled there just short of the line. Now they will go back for another penalty. I believe they will kick this one straight back for the corner now, as they sit 60 minutes through in this contest. Looking to put the icing on the cake. It'll be very tough to work a way back into this game if they are down by 10 points here. The Griquas even harder if they're down by 12. Sound of a stoppage as well. Sounds like maybe one or two changes are about to be made. Like they are saying, they need to find that extra gear here if you are the Griquas. Find a way of just surviving this onslaught. Because if you stop the Lions from scoring now, you can go on and get in a very good position. But that next live stream that we are going to be doing, it is that one there, ladies and gents. So like I said, it is going to be a split screen, how we are doing both games at once, as that women's semi-final is just about to start up. Marco Davitt is down at the moment with a little bit of an injury. Before we go over to that next stream, though, I do want to see whether or not they are able to score the try here. So while we are at it, we'll enter the multi-view option. We'll go like that as well. There we go. We've got both of them open. At the moment, they have got the French national anthem taking place in that Women's World Cup game. Looks like the line-out throw for Monet Brandon. Scoreboard duty, please. There we go. There we go. I do actually, it seems to be that I actually have to hold it over for a second when I'm updating it myself, whereas normally it's just a brush over it and it does the job. But Monet Brandon throwing the ball into the front. The Lions in a very good position, and that ball's come loose. Another penalty. And that one's going to be for throwing a man across the gap. And it sounds like there is a last warning coming here now for this Griquas side. And there goes my Subaru pick down the toilet. Says Craig in there as well. Okay, that you need to up the discipline is the comment there from the referee. There are tears flowing in that France versus England national anthem stage. Ladies and gents, the French really want this victory up against England. They come in as huge underdogs, just like the Griquas did in this game. But if this scoreline is anything to base it off, perhaps that game could be much closer than many do anticipate. But that one's going to go into touch again. Chance here for one last line out for the Lions before we do have to transfer over to that next one. But like I said, that link that I put in the chat, that is where we are going next. And also it will redirect you automatically. We are going to be keeping you guys updated on what is coming up in the near future. Miscommunication. And the Griquas get the free kick at line out time to be able to survive a bit longer. But nonetheless, going over to that next stream, be sure to join us because we will be telling you exactly what is happening in this game too at the end of it. But I will see you all in a very short